and it was going to knock on wood, there's no more major injuries. They're going to have nights where they beat some of these other teams by 30 plus two. Even whoever they play at the Western Conference has the ability to get smoked by the Celtics team. We've seen them beat the Clippers by 37 points. We've seen them beat up on the Mavericks. All these teams that are still left. They've beaten them before. So you have to start looking at the Celtics team like, maybe they are really this good. And they are. And the Heat are way better than what people are giving them credit for right now.
Yeah, I thought the Heat did not have their shooters. No doubt about that. I'll at least admit that. But I just want to give some credit to that defense. And I wanted to look this up because I think I saw this. So they May 1st was today. 84 points is what they let up against Miami. A couple of games ago, 84 points to Miami. And do you know back in 2022 when they advanced, they beat Miami, they held them to 80 and 82 points. So some of their best defensive games, they've held them under 85 points. That was their calling card. And I'm going to use the name Ime Udoka. That was the calling card. When things got tight, they played defense. I think now the defense that they are playing is helping out their offense instead of just being considered a high-volume three-point shooting team. Yep, they do waste some possessions when they miss three-pointers, but overall, though, their defense is setting up their offense now.
Yeah, and if you saw that game, too, and the Heat made all those threes, the Celtics weren't able to get out and run. Tonight, last game, you've seen them when the Heat missed shots, they were sprinting. And guys would sprint to the lane. The next thing you know, they would collapse, and that's when the threes would come open on the wings. Simple basketball. So when you're getting threes in transition like that, I think people don't mind it. It's the just one-on-one ISO, let's take a step back fadeaway three for no reason, unless a guy really has it going, which Derrick White has. But you're right. They're playing defense, and the defense is being switched over to offense, and they're getting out in transition, getting their layups. And look, they really weren't scoring their average. They averaged like 120 a game during the regular season. The Celtics were being held way below that, even in these blowout games. And I just figured going into the game that eventually they were going to shoot their average and play what they've been doing for 82 games. And sure enough, they looked like the usual Celtics most of the first half, and it was all but over by halftime. And you hit the nail on the head. Their defense turned into offense. They got layups. They got dunks in the lane. They started to collapse. Then the threes opened up, and that's when Hauser and Derrick White and all these guys, they just put them away. But you hit the nail on the head, man. It's a defensive effort that led to this victory in the series total.
So our buddy Greeny over at Barstool, Stool Greeny, just put out the Heat's 3-point percentage versus the Celtics in the series. In Game 1, they shot 32%. In Game 2, they shot 53%. So that was the wake-up call, right? That was the game that since then. And I'm crediting the defense. Everybody else, Cerrone, because we watched the game, Cerrone, right? We're gonna watch this Mavs game coming up, right? Like we watch the games. So when you get an opinion from myself or Cerrone, we do watch the rest of the league too. I credit the defense for a 32% shooting from three in Game 3, 27% in Game 4, and 10% in Game 5. But other people who don't watch are going to tell you that they suck and they can't shoot. I'm crediting the defense. But that's some gaudy numbers. That was a wake-up call after Game 2.
Yeah, they put pressure on those guys. They let them shoot. You can see the strategy was let's dare a lot of these bad shooters to shoot. But Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson can shoot as good as anybody in the league. I mean, we've seen both of them burn this Celtics team in the past. When Duncan Robinson was key to them, winning last season. Even just having him on the court was a threat that opened it up for everybody else. So if Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero have an off nights from three-point line, trust me, it's because of the defense. It's not because they're just missing wide open shots. Stan Van Gundy. He even tried to do it again tonight, by the way, if you notice.
Oh, I didn't. So we didn't have. I didn't have it on.
Oh my God!
So we were listening. So Grandy and Max paid a great tribute to Mike Gorman tonight, and we got to hear a little bit of what was going on inside the building. I popped on NBC Sports Boston just to hear a little bit of the end. And we'll have some of that later on tonight. But I didn't hear Van Gundy, but I saw a lot of people on Twitter just being like, yeah, what are you going to say about that now, Stan? Oh, so you're saying he kept it going tonight with his bias?
Dude, they were down 30, and he was like, the Heat's still shooting 50%. They're playing good basketball right now. Like, dude, are you serious? Like, are you really doing? And I had to remember that he used to coach the Miami Heat. So those are his buddies.
Yep.
He's still, Heat culture is still in his veins. And they're playing good ball. Celtics need to watch out. I'm like, dude, what game are you watching? You're sitting right there. You don't see this? But I mean, I just got that off my chest. I'm sorry.
Oh no, this is what we do here. You vent away, sir. If you got something this is actually like the spot. We do a thing called musings. If you want to let out, man, you just let it go. By the way, I got to thank James Scaramazino tonight. All right, I know he's a humble guy, but I watched this thing in action tonight. He did the pregame show. He did the game. He wrote the whole write-up for the website. Got you going, got us going here in postgame, and we're here until midnight tonight. So a Gorman round of applause for James Scaramazino tonight, Skaz, for everything that he's doing back there tonight. How was the game, Skaz? You like it?
Joe, I'm happy to do it, especially if the result is like it was tonight. So let's keep it rolling.
And again, no callers from Florida or the Miami area.
Yes, awfully quiet from Miami tonight. I'm shocked to see that.
We'll tell you another day about that one, Cerrone. But
no, I experienced this.
Oh, you were here?
Last year.
Yeah, a very popular television personality had people from their show calling us. But my whole thing was the Celtics were so bad that, like, don't prank us. Just crap all over them.
That's all you got to do.
They did blow the series, so go ahead. Let us have it. Like, don't even prank us. Just crap. Just like I said to you, if you want to crap, this is the place to do it tonight.
Yeah, just go ahead. I mean, but just real quick, I was looking at this. You talked about people saying the Miami Heat, they're shooters. They didn't have their good shooters. You say Jovic? I want to mess his name up.
Yeah,
he shot 39% from three this season.
Wow.
Tyler Hero, 39%. Haywood Highsmith, who was playing, 39%. Duncan Robinson, 39%. Those guys with Dolan Wright, 37%. Those guys shoot a high percentage all season. So they're not bad shooters. Percentage-wise, they're as good as the Celtics' top shooters. But the Celtics defense made them look so bad that after 5 games, people are like, oh, this is terrible. Bam, Jimmy Butler's the worst jump shooter they have on the team. And I know he was missing. He's their best player, but you never fear Jimmy Butler from the three-point line like you fear Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Highsmith, and Wright. Those guys were still there, but those guys, when they had it going, they won game 2 for you. But the Celtics defense is why they look so bad and look like they're a bad shooting group of players that was on the court.
So to understand your analysis here, after game 2 giving up 52% from 3, they buckled down around the perimeter and in a closeout game held them to 10% from 3?
Absolutely.
Okay, then. See?
They turned him into – how many layups did you see Tyler Hero attempt today? I think it was more today than he did all series.
6 and
they ran him off the line and said, go get that layup. And he kept doing it. We're not letting you shoot open threes. Pump fake, had the side dribble, then the help would come. Over and over again. Pump fake, look for somebody else. Pump fake, dribble to my left, dribble to my right. Over and over again. And that's because of the defense and them closing out on him on that line.
There it is. Defense. We'll get into the rest of the game tonight. Derrick White was hot. We'll get in. Jason Tatum spoke after the game as well, so we have some audio on that. But first, we got to get to the Sports Hub headlines. We'll tell you who the Celtics could be playing next and when. Cerrone Battles here. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Celtics have advanced to the next round. The first team to do so here in the East. 118-84 winners tonight over Miami. All right, back here 98.5, the Sports Hub. Celtics win and advance. We're here on Postgame until midnight tonight. Cerrone Battle alongside. The phone number here is 617-779-0985. You just heard the Derrick White audio there. Cerrone, let's just talk about Derrick White for a little bit here. Just looking back at his career, was with the Spurs, nice little glue piece, got moved to the bench because they wanted to have Dejounte Murray in the starting five. Became a real glue guy, came over to the Celtics, immediately was an impact player. I think he's progressing or still progressing, and maybe it's the system. He's a tremendous defensive player, but he's really developed into an outstanding three-point shooter. And he doesn't do anything spectacular. Yeah, I think he can block shots as a defender, but just watching his progression here, I think he's turning into an all-star player. I think you could have made the argument that he was an all-star this year. But is it the system? Is it playing with, two great players and big men? How is he now ascended into a potential all-star? And San Antonio let him go a couple of years ago basically for nothing.
I think it's all him, man. I think that's all his talent. He's doing this. He's not like he's just being left alone. It's just hitting threes and everybody's paying attention to everyone else. You see him taking it to teams, taking it to players, taking over for stretches, quarters, halves. This is all him. Effort. Just keeping his dribble alive. He knows what he's doing with the basketball. Real smart, real patient, doesn't waste dribbles. He plays an old school style of basketball. He attacks, and when you sag, he takes the jump shot. He worked on his game, but I think this is all on him. Not giving all the credit to Brad Stevens for bringing him here, but I think if he was even still in San Antonio right now playing with Wemby, you would be hearing his name. He'd be climbing up, not as much because he wouldn't be on TV as much, but I think he'd be a good player no matter where he is. But I think it's all on him. And just to compare him to somebody else from the Spurs, I think his rise is very similar to Tony Parker, who was I think he was a second-round pick. Guys really didn't pay much attention to him, and he slowly just turned into this dude. Look, he's getting a few layups here and there. Oh, look at man, he's getting some buckets for them. Next thing you know, he's got 30 on you in the finals, and you still don't respect him. It took 10 years for people to finally respect Tony Parker. I think Derrick White's getting on that level and can have that kind of impact on the Celtics team where he's not Manu, he's not Tim Duncan, he's not David Robinson. But if you don't pay attention and you don't lock in on him, he's going to hurt you and he can beat you for a series.
I think he's been tremendous without Kristaps Porzingis now. I think he can be their third scorer. I don't know if they need to depend on him being the third scorer. I think that would be a fault for them. But there was a 3 tonight where I watched him. He didn't do anything spectacular, didn't cross the guy up, or he just was on fire. He knew it. He saw the basket, and he talked about that in the previous game as how he sees everything a lot better. Things are slowing down to him. He was asked before the game tonight, do you think you'll come back to earth? And his comeback was, well, I didn't think I left earth. So I think he's super confident. And you mentioned the Spurs. I wonder if all that coaching that he got from Pop, and here I am giving Pop credit for the development of Derrick White, but you have to, right? Because look where he is. He knows his role. We saw the big play that he was in the right spot a year ago to extend the series. And tonight, when the Celtics could have lost one of their best players, the air could have went out of could have just kind of taken the air out of things. It was Derrick White, the leader, who took over, took charge, and led the way. And now they have some rest as they go on to play either Cleveland or Orlando.
Well, this is the makeup of a championship team. This is what it takes. I don't care what dynasty or what batch of players you see where teams win multiple championships in any era. The Bulls might be the only team where they really didn't have 3 or 4 guys that can get you 30. They might be the only one, but they did it defensively and had the greatest closer probably in sports history. But outside of that, I don't care if it's the Showtime Lakers. They had 4 or 5 guys that can light you up. We all know what the Celtics were all about in the late 80s. I mentioned the Bulls, but some good teams back then always had another guy. The Lakers, Shaq and Kobe Lakers had another. There was always somebody else, a Derek Fisher or somebody that would get you buckets. Coming all the way up to the Warriors. It was Iguodala. It was Sean Livingston. It was always somebody, a third, fourth guy that when you needed it would win you a series, win you a game or a quarter, bring you back from down 20 or put you up 20. You just need that kind of roster. And when you look around the NBA, the rest of the league, it's not many teams have a guy like that. And I think that's the clear advantage. Everyone's looking at, well, can Tatum and Brown get over? It's like Tatum and Brown could be at a roll and rally and average 17, 18 points a game in the series, and they could still win. You don't need them to get 30 a night to beat half these teams because they have extra pieces. Again, like we mentioned earlier, there's going to come a series or a game where it's not Derrick White. It might be Holiday. It might be Pritchard. It might be Al Horford. It might be Hauser. But those guys have the ability to take over and have good nights like this. And I can see that coming as we get further into these series.
I don't want to discredit White because he's had an outstanding offensive game, but I think he really does his best playing defense. And earlier we were talking about the Celtics defense on the perimeter. And this from Sean Grandy tonight. The Heat made 23 threes in that Game 2 win. Since then, they made 21 the rest of the series. So, again, is it good defense or is it bad shooting? Both could be true, but I want to give the Celtics credit on the defensive end for that.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the defensive effort in Game 2. You saw it. There was no effort. They weren't contesting shots. Hand down, man down all night.
Yep.
And you see Porzingis sagging off. No, I'm going to let you shoot it. I'm going to dare you to shoot it. There was no sagging last game and this game. When they came off those screens, Al Horford was stepping up. Whoever was switching out with purpose and forcing them to put the ball on the floor, drive to the basket, or take a contested shot. You see Caleb Martin was under pressure the rest of the way after Game 2. So that was all defense. And I'm pretty sure the Miami Heat would tell you, well, some of them would say, oh, no, we just missed our shots. No, if they're being honest with themselves, like, man, there was just too much defensive pressure and they didn't let up. The bench did the same thing. So you have to get a 46-win team shooting that bad, it's because of defensive effort. I don't care what anyone says. You just don't play bad over 5 games. The whole team just couldn't hit shots. No, it's because of the defense.
And not exciting to talk about defense on the radio, but with this team, though, they need to play defense because they are the best offense. And you certainly saw it against the Heat in this series. I'll take a call, and I got a question for you before we go to break here, Cerrone. But let's talk to Chris. He's in Fitchburg. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, how's it going, guys? How's your night?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, dude. Came in second in our bowling league tonight. Paid out some cash, so that was sweet.
Not bad at all. Did you watch the Celtics game? Did you watch the Celtics?
Oh, yeah. No, we had it up, right next to the score. So
see, all you needed to
dude,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we lost by literally 1 point. Literally 1 point.
That's tough.
But anyways, it was all right. It's good fun. But, yeah, no, I'm just feeling good about the Celtics, man. Porzingis is a hit, but at the same time, I mean, I feel like, he's basically missed around a quarter of the games regular season anyways. It's like this is kind of par for the course. Like Horford is just the man. I love Horford, having him as a back is just like I feel safe,
Yeah, hey Chris.
Even if we go into the finals, I feel safe. And yeah, what's
Chris,
up, man?
Real quick, what's the name of your bowling team?
Lane Violation.
Ah, all right. I like that. Remember Boston Bowl, Cerrone?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God. I think it's still going. I don't know. But, man, I used to go there late night, a little. Oh, that was the spot. I don't think I ever had a team name, though, for bowling.
No, I never played team bowling. I should have, though.
I was arcades, right? The NBA Jam Machine. That one was always good.
Taking all my money was $1. $1 per quarter.
Oh yeah, that game took a lot of money. And then when it came over to the other systems, it was like some of the guys in the arcade weren't in the game for some reason. And then I don't know, come to find out like Jordan couldn't be in it, and I don't think Shaq could be in it at one point.
union stepped in and kind of ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, nobody wanted that. I love the Suns though. I think I was like Dan Marley and KJ and Charles Barkley. Oh,
they took that was the last time. Real quick, I think that was the last time Barkley was used in a video game. He's never been in a video game because he's like they don't pay them extra to do it,
That's
so
right.
he's refusing to be in it.
Yeah, because like Bulls there was a guy number 34, but I don't think his name was Barkley. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, him and Reggie Miller, I think, are refusing. Even in like the modern 2K, you can use the 93 Suns, but Barkley's not on there. It sucks.
Interesting. I got more numbers on Derrick White, but I'm going to tease this one. Did the Celtics make a mistake not extending Derrick White this year? We'll get into that one coming up on the other side, and maybe we'll look at the value of what that contract could be. Like, hey, it's not over yet, though. They still have a couple more rounds to go, and we got another hour to go here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray, joined by Cerrone Battle. Skaz is here as well. We'll talk to you after the break.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
All right, back here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. We're here until midnight tonight. I'm Joe Murray. Cerrone Battle's here. All right, Cerrone, I asked you this before the break. Did the Celtics make a mistake not extending Derrick White when they had a chance to back in October? He discussed the lack of a contract extension with the Celtics. Obviously, he has 2 years left. And when he'll be a free agent, he'll be 31 years old. But he mentioned that, they didn't get to the deadline. He's on the books for $17.6 million for this year and $18 million for next year. So that number for next year, that's a bargain. But should they have extended him? And has it now worked in the player's best interest considering the postseason run he's having now?
Hey, man, all I got to say is yesterday's price is not today's price. Oh, he's about to get paid.
He is.
He's about to come all the way up. I mean, I'm not saying his pay would double, but it would go up significantly. He's about to be all set. He's got a couple little ones he just had. They're about to be all set. They're going to be good to go. Yeah, the Derrick White family is going to be they're going to be in good shape, and I think they're going to take care of him. Especially if they win a championship this year. It really gives him another huge boost or bonus. Not like he really needs it right now. He's balling out of his mind. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say they regret it, but they're probably looking at it like that. We could have saved ourselves a decent amount of money, but now we're gonna have to pay this kid because I tell you what, if you can't let him get anywhere near free agency because a lot of these teams are older. They got a lot of, they're missing pieces. The Phoenix Suns right now would give Derrick White $200 million if they could.
Oh, yeah.
He would make them that much better. The Lakers with Derrick White, he's worth $200 million to them. Some of these bottom teams like the Warriors who need younger talent that can, he's not really young, but he's young enough to extend those older players' run. He has a $200 million value to half of the teams in the league, and the other half he's sitting at least $100 million. So yeah, he's about to make a ton of money in today's NBA market. Derrick White's value is extremely high.
I'll take a call before we get to the top of the hour here. Jake is in Wareham. Hey, Jake.
Hey, I was listening to Felger and Maz earlier, and Maz was saying how the Red Sox have really fallen off as a fan base. So I was wondering, what do you think is out of the top four leagues, NFL, MLB, NHL, and NBA, where did Boston rank as fan bases? If you could answer that. And then I was also wondering if you could, just a little side note, what's your favorite Domino's order if you got one?
Listen, we're doing Celtics postgame tonight. Now, you know what's funny now is, now there's no game on Friday night here on the Sports Hub, so full Joe show Friday night. So I'll just tease it. All right, how about that one, Scaz? We'll mark that one. We'll bookmark that one for Friday. Favorite Domino's order, because I already know it. I mean, I've probably discussed it a few times, and I've seen the commercial now. By the way, that is one thing. This playoff, they've unveiled this New York style Domino's pizza. Oh, I've seen it all right. It's like, hey, like the major bag alert. You remember that thing? Bag alert, major bag. Oh, I notice. Very much have noticed the commercials during the playoffs here. But the fan base, I mean, listen, I think the strongest fan base here, I think, is the Celtics right now because they're so defensive of their team, but also they're due. Right? Like, they're ready. They're ready to burst. They're still young, but they're ready. And I would say right now in this town, Bruins fans are the most diehard. Patriots fans might care the most. But for their team, the Celtics are due out of all the teams.
Yeah, and I think the Celtics, I think, are the one team in the city that if you're a diehard Sox fan, you're a diehard Bruins fan, a Patriots fan, a lot of them secondary team is the Celtics. I think everybody's a fan of the Celtics. And I think that's the way when it comes to the NBA, because you look around, social media is the way they measure everything now. The NBA has the most social media followers, team players, all that stuff. The younger generation is bigger in NBA 2K than they are in the Madden. That's just the nature of the NBA. It's the way they market and sell it. It sells to a young generation. But I think in Boston, it has a diverse fan base. The Celtics have a diverse fan base. Now, I'm not so much saying when it comes to race, but there's Bruins fans at Celtics games. There's Patriot fans at Celtics games. There's Red Sox hats all over the Garden when Celtics are playing.
There's women.
Yes.
Listen, that is I would say if you want to go to a game or bring your family or whatever, the Celtics game is the best atmosphere to be in. And I think it's because it's the mainstream atmosphere. I know everybody watches football or has their parties, but you want to go to an event, mainstream Celtics is the best.
Yeah, people show up in clothes like they're going to the club. It's a different vibe. You know, it's when you're sitting anywhere in the lower bowl, people will dress. They got hair's done, nails done. Guys got on their jewelry. They got their best pair of Jordans on. The ladies got their heels on, sitting courtside. You don't get that everywhere. You might get that in the suites and stuff at a Patriots game. That's that section that they really ain't there to watch the game. They're there to make business deals. Bruins fans, they too diehard for that. There's no heels sitting up on that glass during the game. It's a different type of fan base. So the Celtics are very casual, and I think everybody gravitates to that. And it's just older Celtic fans. This is an old diehard Celtics fan base that's still around from the glory years. So you have an old fan base, a young NBA fan base. You have a diverse fan base in the middle. And I think that's what makes it seem bigger at the time. But I think if all things were equal and everybody was an elite team, the Red Sox wouldn't be that far behind and the Patriots probably would be leading the way. That's just being honest here. You know, I think if everybody was good, you wouldn't see a bunch of Cubs fans at Fenway because they wouldn't be able to get seats. But that's just – it's hard. It's easy to get on them now because they're not as good as the Celtics. But when everybody's at their peak, Red Sox fans might still reign supreme around here, and the Patriots are, if not one, they're 1A. They're right there with them.
All right, he's Cerrone Battle. I'm Joe Murray. We got another hour to go. We'll get you caught up on everything happening in Sports Hub headlines. And we wanted to just pay tribute to Mike Gorman. We have some audio. I know Grandy and Max gave a nice little tribute. And Jason Tatum spoke tonight. He's actually at the podium now as well. So we'll have some sound for you before we get out of here tonight. We'll give you all the scores right now in Sports Hub headlines.
Bust from the Town Fair Tire Studios, home of the Celtics, Bruins, Revs, and Patriots.
Left side, touchdown Patriots.
Boston's home for sports is 98.5, the Sports Hub, Easily Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics advance past Miami with a 118-84 win. They now will play the winner of Cleveland in Orlando. Derrick White, 25 points tonight. Absolutely outstanding in this one. In the Western Conference at halftime, Dallas has a 56-46 lead over the Clippers. That series is tied at 2. In the NHL tonight, Dallas with a 3-2 win over Vegas. They now lead the series 3-2. And the Oilers and Kings tied at 1. Kings holding on. They're down 3-1 in the series. Bruins play in Toronto tomorrow night in Game 6, up 3-2. And the Red Sox got a 6-2 win tonight over the Giants. Cutter Crawford, 7 innings, 6 strikeouts in the win. The team's now 18-13 on the season. Headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Joe Murray. Your next update's in 30 minutes.
To go to 3 minutes, Jalen jumps the pass.
Every game.
Up top, Pasternak, here it comes.
Is one step closer to the goal.
Flies over Grayson.
This is the home of the Bruins and the Celtics and their road to the playoffs. Boston's home for sports. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
There are 41 seconds left in the series, but that means also there are 41 seconds left in the 43-year Celtics cable TV career of Mike Gorman, who finishes his final game here tonight. And we've heard from everybody else right on this topic, Max, but nobody has come to us, right? Nobody's asked us when we've been with the guy probably more than anybody else over the years. I know when you played here, Mike was actually here, but you weren't around him a lot back then. But you've gotten the chance to be with him, travel with him, and have him be such a big part of our lives the last 20-plus years?
Mike's a great guy, and that's all you say. Those times, things go by, and it's just really sad to see an ending again. I'll go on a little bit further, and even with Mike, but I have to also give my condolences to one of my buddies who just passed away, and that is just Mark Gaines. But Mike Gorman has done a fantastic job in who he's been.
I have a different perspective because of my age now, and you've known me for the 23 years I've been here, and I was obviously a much younger guy and a different guy. And the appreciation I have for the friendship and the brotherhood. Everyone's asked me about, what did you learn from Mike as a broadcaster and watching Mike? You got to remember, 99.9% of people know Mike, and they know you, and they know me from our work. But we all know Mike, and Mike knows us. It's everything but our work, because we work at the same time. So we've been doing the same thing for all these years. And the appreciation I have at my age, because I'm almost the age now, I'm a few years away from being the same age that Mike was when I came here. And I was recruited to Boston to be Mike's successor. And I didn't have the perspective on it then that I do now. But that's not a great recipe for a friendship and a brotherhood. And yet, I am so grateful for how Mike was to me then and the relationship that we forged. Back then, it was never an issue or a thing between us. And to be able to spend all those years with him has been a privilege and a treat for me, Max. For 20 years, no matter how bad the flight was, a rough one, bad landing, whenever the plane hit the ground, I would look to my left, and Mike would lean forward in his chair and look to his right. We make that eye contact like we made it again. To get to do that one final time the other night was pretty cool.
Okay. Love it.
Mike, we love you, and we wish you all of the best. You've earned it.
All right, back here 98.5 The Sports Hub. It's Joe Murray, Cerrone Battles here. Skaz putting all that together. Great shout out there by Sean Grandy, Cedric Maxwell as well. And when you have mentors in this business, Cerrone, people groom you to maybe take their job one day. And it was kind of good to hear Grandy kind of in hindsight hearing all that.
Yeah.
What it meant to him and their final flight together, etc. I love the kid because that's a Dorchester boy. Over 40 years covering the team that he loved. He got to do it with his best friend Tommy Heinsohn. The guy's a legend. He's done it all. He served our country. Just an absolute tremendous person. And tonight was his final game as the games now go on to cable TV, which he kind of made some jokes about in an article today, I believe, with was Manic, somebody like that today. But absolutely outstanding. And the props to Mike Gorman. I don't think we're ever going to stop because he really was so great. And I think he's unforgettable at this point.
Yeah, I mean, my early years of watching, Celtics. Back, I'm dating myself for real now. Back in the cable vision days, you caught him in the home games on channel 48 Sports.
That's right,
Sports Channel.
Yep.
Back in the day, and I got Kuzi and Tommy Heinsohn on the road trip.
I loved Kuzi. I loved Kuzi. Was so good with Heinsohn, and Mike kind of ran the show between the two of them.
Yeah. Yep, that's when I really started watching on my own, my little small 13-inch TV in my room, supposed to be sleep for school, and laying there watching Sacramento Kings Celtics games at midnight, but listening to, the three of them talk. But that's, come on after Dana Hershey in the movie loft. But he's the earliest memory I have, the sound with those old games, it's just, I came up when the Dino Raja, the Sherman Douglas.
Yep,
that era, Kevin Gamble, and right after Reggie Lewis. And those are my early real memories of them when Larry Bird was getting older and stuff like that. So I can just hear his voice in certain games. And, man, the amount of superstar players that he got to see call and, the games and moments that he's witnessed over his career, I mean, that's incredible. And the stories that he can probably tell that he can never say on the air, but he can tell to his friends and family around are probably incredible.
I'll say this, that my two favorite ones of all time, Number 1 was Paul Pierce against the Pacers. Was it Al Harrington?
Yeah,
Was that who it was?
Play. Yeah,
and they were talking smack to each other. It was good, right? And he right in his face. That was peak Mike Gorman. And then just that 08 run. I mean, he was incredible. There's some that I remember. He had some really great college performances as well when the Big East was strong. But overall, yeah, that Al Harrington one kind of sticks out to me. And I think when I think back to Paul Pierce, it's weird. You mentioned the teams that struggled. Well, Pierce was on a lot of the 02 beyond struggles, and Gorman was a part of that. And I know Tommy at the end, was didn't go on the road anymore, but he made it still feel listenable. We can't say enough about the guy, but I love him. I love the guy, and again, he'll be unforgettable. And he made it easy to watch, man. And he made it. And he was so easy. That's what when I talk about music, Cerrone, and people like that. When it's easy to do, that's how you know they're great, and that's the best way for me to explain him.
Yeah, and he had he never was. I mean, Heinsohn was that type that, the refs always felt like they were against the team. He was always getting on the refs. Gorman, he kind of played it like a national, broadcaster. He seemed kind of non-biased with a lot of these games. He called it like he seen it. If the other guy was hot, there was a sound he makes when other guys had it going. And it's just certain things that you remember with him. But he's, like I said, he'll always be a memory in my mind, because in my early years of really getting into watching the NBA, it was the sound of Gorman, like I said, late at night when I wasn't supposed to be watching the games. So, I mean, it'll truly be missed, but as you can tell, man, it's a change going on throughout Boston sports with the voices that we've grown up with, and, the future's going to be exciting, but there's some tough shoes to fill, man.
Tough shoes to fill. So that'll be something interesting. And, his final words were, go out and win this thing. Well, yeah. So I just wanted to give some props to our radio broadcast and to everything on the television broadcast tonight as well. We got callers. Let's talk to him. We got Sean. He's in the car. Hey, Sean.
Hey, guys. First of all, I almost kind of feel bad, like Mike Gorman's always been one of my favorites, and I was, at the game tonight and missed his last broadcast, so I got to go back and watch the whole thing. But anyway, tonight was pretty encouraging for me. Pretty rightfully so. A lot of people say the Celtics have been playing down to their, lesser opponents in the past few years, and absolutely that's the case. But I feel like the Heat are kind of the only team that has matched up with us in the Eastern Conference. And now that we've, taken care of business and just completely dominated them in 5 games, I think the next 2 series are going to be pretty straightforward. And, as fans, we can look ahead to the finals.
Not to cross sports or anything, but last night, Cerrone, I worked the Bruins game. Skaz was here as well. We had calls straight until midnight last night because the Bruins but the Bruins couldn't do at home what the Celtics did tonight. Mm-hmm. Right? The Celtics,
they were more expected to do it than the Celtics.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So that's why I want to credit the Celtics tonight. They did what they were supposed to do, and against a team that they've had trouble with. And that's what I wanted to just bring up here. Jason Tatum spoke after the game with Grandy and Max, but at the podium a little while ago, said he wanted to face Miami watching the play-in tournament. Said he wanted to play Miami in a sense, knowing the history with Miami and how hard they played and how well coached they are, regardless of seed. We had to be ready to play, and they were ready for the fight. And wow, imagine wanting to play them and doing so. And here they go. Now that's off their back, and they're going to play 2 teams, and we'll do this in a little bit. But for the Celtics fans looking ahead a little bit, these are still the Celtics. Like every round, even the 08 team that was great struggled on the road. They barely won road games. So this is a huge win. But now you got to play a team that you have lost against this year at certain times and came back from big leads. So when you talk about playing up or down to opponents, they didn't do it this round. Doesn't mean they're out of it just yet.
Yeah, you're dealing with all-stars the rest of the way. I mean, if you get Orlando, Ben Carroll's an all-star. He's a young, budding star. Donovan Mitchell's an all-star. I mean, you didn't get to see him much in Utah. He'll drop a 50-burger on you in a minute. I mean, Garland's a good player. Mobley's a good player. They have size. They got guys that can play. They got familiar faces, and Marcus Morris and LeVert, and they just throw random guys at you. Max Strus is on that team. We all know him. They have guys on that team. Now, will they know the tendencies of the Celtics the way Spoelstra and the Heat do? No. I think that's the huge disadvantage. They haven't played the Celtics enough. They only played them 3 times this year, and I don't even think they were healthy in 2 of those games. They don't know the Celtics' tendencies, what they can and can't do. They don't know the right adjustments against Tatum and Brown. But man for man, they have guys that are capable of stealing games, and that's what happens in the playoffs. Orlando might have less of those guys. The Wagner brothers are good. Banchero's good, but I think their guards would struggle against Boston. But Cleveland, if you play Cleveland and they're healthy and they're going to be motivated, that's not going to be as easy as people think it is.
All right, Cerrone Battle's here. I'm Joe Murray. We see your phone calls online as well. Skaz is here. Jason Tatum spoke earlier, and we are going to break down a little bit more of this Cleveland-Orlando series. I just looked at the betting line. Orlando favored in Game 6. So if it does go 7, the next series will start on Tuesday. That could be a good thing. Or we'll ask Cerrone if that's a good thing. We'll do that coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on
Quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Tatum again, moving slowly to his left. Bounce entry, caught by Holiday. Kick out, corner, White, three, got it.
Yep.
Bam's not going to play 48 minutes tonight because there ain't going to be 48 minutes to play.
Yep, Bam Adebayo. I said this to Skaz during the game tonight. You know, people didn't like or had some sort of comment regarding the dead ball Bam contested shot by Tatum. I thought it might have motivated Tatum a little bit tonight. You won't see that in the box score, but there were some times where Tatum could have taken over the game if he wanted to. But I think he wanted to make up for other areas tonight, rebounding in particular, right? If you look at the box score, double digits in rebounds tonight for Jason Tatum. He had 12, 16 points, was a plus 35 on the court. And we'll get to him. He spoke after the game in a little bit, but you know, I just look at this team and say, after game 2, Cerrone, right? What were people saying? The team's soft, right? Same old Celtics, they're frauds. You know, they never end series quickly. I don't know. Last time I looked at it, holding a team to 10% from 3 and getting worse every single game and holding them to, 3 straight games of under 90 points. To me, I don't know. Maybe they ended the series quickly and made them barbecue chicken.
Yeah, that's what happened. And it kind of stinks that now that they've done it, it's like, let's downplay the opponent. Now it's no big deal. It's like, no, they did what they were supposed to do. You've seen some of these teams struggle in the first round outside of an OKC and Minnesota, but these top teams did what they were supposed to do. But you look at the Knicks right now. The Knicks they were 3-1.
Yep.
Knicks had Philly going home. Missed free throws late, bad shot selections, poor defense, fouling shooters in the last minute. Game goes to overtime. Now Philly has a chance to tie it at 3. You know, you see around the league when other teams are facing teams with injuries. Indiana had they had Milwaukee without Giannis, without Dame. Let's end this series over. They let them hang around and let them win that game. Now there's talks that Dame and Giannis could both come back. That happens. Indiana's going to lose that series. Those guys come back healthy. But many teams around the league aren't taking care of business. You should be happy and proud that your Celtics team not only took care of business, they did so against a very smart team, a defensive-minded team with probably the best head coach in the league. They did what they were supposed to do, and they did it in convincing fashion. And you should be pretty optimistic about the Celtics team going forward.
Yeah, there's a Where's Waldo after the game here. I just saw a couple of the photos here. Where's Waldo? Tyler Hero. Where was he tonight defensively? Because that was one of the worst defensive. I might look back on that one. Remember, he was the best player that Portland could get in the Damian Lillard trade. Remember that one?
They didn't make. Yeah, they could have sent him for Dame and decided not to.
Speaking of barbecue chicken, Topher in Reading. Hi, Topher.
Yeah, hi, Joe. How you doing?
Say hi to Cerrone.
Yeah, hi, Cerrone.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Dude, if there's anything I've been enjoying, it's the after Celtics games with Cerrone on there. Cerrone, I've been becoming a fan. I had to follow you on Twitter just because of it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
What do you got tonight, Topher?
Dude, I'm going to say that first off, I want to give a shout out to Skaz because Skaz has been so amazing.
He has.
But besides that, I had a realization when everybody was saying how long Mike Gorman has been on the radio or even on the TV or anything he's been doing with broadcasting. I am a year older than his career.
I think we all had that realization tonight. Holy smokes.
I literally turned into probably an old man right there. Oh man. But hats off to him. Perfect career, perfect everything. We basically have been enjoying his time with everything in the Celtics, and it's been fantastic, and I feel bad for the other guys that don't get to listen to a man like Mike Gorman.
Thanks, Topher. Appreciate you. Who's the longest tenured now? Obviously, Jack Edwards will be retiring soon. We've had some great ones, right? I mean, Celtics-wise, on Johnny Most going way back, right?
Johnny Most.
There's the Ned Martins of the world, the Sean McDonoughs of the world, Jerry Remy's of the world, Tommy Heinsohn's, Gil and Gino of the world. Who's the longest now, Skaz?
It's got to be Max, right? I think it's got to be Max.
Max
and maybe
yeah,
Grandy.
Max and Grandy, yeah.
Yeah, and Max has been here longer than Sean, I think.
Yep. Max came back in the mid-'80s, got his number retired in the 2000s, I believe. Yeah, he might be the longest tenured broadcaster in town. And speaking of play-by-play, though,
it's got to be Sean, I think.
Sean probably is, because I know Castiglione's retiring this year, I believe, right? So, yeah, I think all the greats have, or at least are passing by, and it's probably Sean Grandy, right? As the, Bob Sosi does this fantastic job.
How long has Zoe been on calling the Patriots?
So, what is that, like 12 years?
Probably right around that.
Yeah, something around that, yeah. Because he was on the sideline for a year. That was the Cundiff when he hooked it, remember? That was Zoe. Zoe was on the sideline and had the call before the call. Which was great. But, yeah, I mean, thinking about it in town here locally, Jack Edwards, Mike Gorman.
We've been very lucky.
We've had the greatest ever. And authentic, too, right? A guy from here with the accent, still has the dialect and all that.
And I think that's something that we're kind of losing. We're getting all these polished Syracuse clone type guys that are, robotic almost. You're losing out on the Jack Edwards. Like, we kind of talked about this last night, Joe, but fans on Twitter getting mad at Jack or whatever. Not Bruins fans. Like these guys are ours.
Yeah, he called the guy a coward last night.
Yes, and I love it. Like they're ours. They're not for you.
Yeah.
They're for us. They're for the fans.
But Chick Hearn was the same way, right? Like he was like that. The Johnny Most Chick Hearn was unbelievable.
Yeah, those guys, they were so unique, and it was, you wanted to hear some of the other teams broadcast when your team was on the road, and to hear Hearn in L.A. with Showtime and the way he used to call that, it went right along with their style of play. And Johnny Most, those Celtics Pistons series wouldn't be the same without Johnny Most's graspy voice.
No way.
Over the guys throwing haymakers. So it all worked. And like you said, like Skaz, you just said, man, no one seems natural. It seems to be more taught than being naturally being yourself and just being someone who's calling the game. It's
Cerrone, you're from
nationwide
here.
too.
You're from here. You live down south now, so we after a few drinks, you might hear it come out every once in a while. High pack, you know what I mean? You might but you're right. We're polished now, right? We realize that how it sounds hanging out with your friends doesn't always sound that great on the air. I know people like it to be authentic. But, Mike Gorman was that, and he did it for over 40 years, and I just respect that so much. But you mentioned Most. Like, yes, I wouldn't have known about Lambier or like Moses Malone, and, like, you could hear the detest in his voice when he said their names, Just incredible. Oh.
If you haven't heard it yet, someone has to listen, YouTube the clip of Johnny Most when the Celtics played. This is a championship thing they played every exhibition game played in Europe every year, and he didn't know the names. He couldn't pronounce the names of the team from Europe, and the whole game he swings it over to the tall guy swings to the guy with the big feet, with the floppy hair, and he did it for a whole game, and it's hilarious. But it just shows how times have changed and how that would not fly today. But Johnny Most made old school basketball work.
All right. Well, Jason Tatum spoke, who's was at the podium a little while ago. He spoke to Grandy and Max after the game as well. We'll give you that audio. And did we learn anything about the Celtics in this series? We'll do all that coming up next, and we'll look at the Cavs and Orlando, the next opponent for the Green. But first, let's get your Sports Hub headlines.
Sports Hub headlines.
118-84, that was the Celtics win tonight. That was the score of the game, and now they advance to take on
Zolak and Bertrand get you through the midday. Joe Murray gets you right through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
Yeah, and I think, obviously playing against Miami, we got a lot of history with them. Regardless of whatever seed they are, they make you prepare, and they kind of make you bring the fight. So this was a great first-round matchup for us not to relax and, come out and play every game the right way.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. That was Jason Tatum after tonight's game. How about that? The guys getting Jason Tatum tonight. It was with Grandy and Max after the game. I'm Joe Murray. Cerrone Battles here. We got Skaz as well. We're on YouTube. The YouTube folk are like, where is Cerrone in our chat? They want you in there, Cerrone. All you got to do is go to youtube.com. Just go right in there, click on 98.5, and you'll see everyone in there. But they're like, we got to get Cerrone in chat. So at some point, we got to get you in there, Chat
next game. All
right, whenever that is, by the way.
Yeah,
either
exactly.
Sunday, because right now Cleveland's up 3-2. Orlando are favorites, 3.5-point favorites, which means nothing. But if it does force a Game 7, that means that the Celtics will await the winner and then play on Tuesday night. We'll get into that series coming up in a bit. But Tatum had some interesting comments after the game regarding toughness that I wanted to get into in a second here. But Tatum was asked a couple of things after the game, and you just heard him coming back from break talking about the series and talking about Miami. But let's hear a little bit more from Tatum. This is after the game, coming off the court with Grandy and Max postgame.
Yeah, this time of the year, right, all the awards is already voted on, so this time it's all about can you win the game, right? That's all they're going to talk about or remember is did you win or not. So that's all I'm worried about.
So I like that. He said that, and then he had one more, Cerrone, I wanted to share with you, and it was regarding toughness. He was asked this after the game. What's the different definition of tough? Having the louder guys on your team? That bleep don't make you tough. Everybody has their own definition of what toughness is. It's playing the right way, showing up every day to do your job without complaining. I think that's being tough. He went on to talk about more, but in my brain, I'm thinking I don't know why I thought originally Marcus Smart. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's just, as Skaz said, the talk radio show guy in me. But what were your comments on him talking about the definition of tough?
As he's saying that, I'm thinking about somebody like Udonis Haslem sitting on the end of the bench just being loud. Just being loud. Like, he's just over there being loud, but that don't make you tough. Just being loud and yelling at everybody doesn't make you a tough guy. It's a Draymond Green. Doesn't make you tough that you're loud and vocal. It's can you do it can you show your toughness within the lines of the basketball court while the play is, going on, not after the whistle's been blown and you're being separated. That doesn't make you tough. Can you defend? Can you be a tough defender? Can you make it tough on your opponent? Could you, beat like Derrick White? You don't think of him as a tough guy, but he's one of the, better defenders at his position and probably in the league. And his opponents have a tough time, and they deal with him like, man, it's hard to shake him. He's physical. He's strong. He's fast. He's smart. That's a different type of toughness as opposed to just being someone who's loud and demonstrative and just over there just trying to beat a bully on the sideline. That's different. Now, if you can do both, you're Kevin Garnett. Now, you're Dennis Rodman. If you can be physically tough, mentally tough, and verbally like that, those are rare elite people. But like Tatum said, it's not about being all that. It's can you do it within the lines of the court in the middle of the game and show it in the scoreboard. Look, you guys only got 80-something points up. Who was the toughest team now? And I think they let their game do the talking for them instead of being just loud and vocal about it.
I agree with you. I agree with everything you said right there because I think I've been defending the Celtics in a way because I feel like at times we hear it, right? People say, oh, they're not tough enough. Somebody should have got up when Tatum went down, or, oh, why did Tatum get right up the other day but fell on the ground the other day? Like, I think they're hearing it. I think their coach hears it. I think they know it. So, like, for the Celtics at this point, they have a silent leader in Jason Tatum. I have never needed Jason Tatum to be the vocal leader on the court. There are some guys in some sports that just do it by example. But him saying it after the game, that's one of my takeaways. The Haslam one's a good one because he has been there, right? Chirping, right? Even Paul Pierce kind of mentioned something about that on his podcast recently. But I think they hear the chirping, but they also know that if they do the things the right way and play the way that they play, that's how they can win a championship.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, people look at the Celtics, and for some reason, they see this three-point shooting team or whatever, and, I get on them for shooting too many threes. But one thing you've never get from me is that they're not tough. They're a tough team. They're tough defensively. In today's modern NBA, they're as tough as anybody in the league. In today's NBA, we can't compare them to old teams because the NBA didn't want that anymore. They've eliminated all those guys. They've eliminated that kind of play. It's a different world. In today's NBA, you look around, they're as tough as anybody that's left. No one ever said Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns are tough guys in the NBA, but that's the best defensive team in the league, and that's who you're comparing their toughness to. And on that scale, the Celtics are the tougher team. They're tougher than the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets are very skilled, very smart, but the Celtics team is as tough as they get. And they show it when they turn up defensively. Their guards are tough. Their wings are tough. Al Horford, he's got the baby face, but he's an old school throwback, physical, tough basketball player. His presence is felt out there on the court. And I think people look at the Celtics and their scoring and how easy some things come to them, and they just automatically assume they're not a tough team. And that's not the case. You don't win 64 games in the NBA without having some kind of toughness or physicality to you.
Cerrone, who do you want? Cleveland or Orlando in the next round for the Celtics?
Man, entertainment's sake, man, give me Cleveland. Orlando, it may be just me, but every time I watch them on the road, every game looks like it's in low definition. Like, it's just boring.
Yep.
I don't know what it is.
But they've beaten the Celtics a couple of times, right? What was it?
They beat them once this year. Last year they owned them. Yeah.
Yep.
Last year they owned them. But this year the Celtics, it's funny, they played Cleveland and Orlando in back-to-backs in 1 week in December or something like that.
Did they lose both of those?
No, the Celtics they won all four, but then they lost toward the end of the season against both of them or something something crazy.
Yeah, because Cleveland was back-to-back, if you remember, right? That was the week of Denver.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you look at it, Cleveland has come back from a 20-point lead, and Orlando has been able to go at least shot for shot with them at times. So there are two opponents that will be a pain for the Celtics no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the only thing with Orlando, I think their youth would hurt them badly. I think they'll get in situations to where the Celtics can just outsmart them. And I think Derrick White and Holiday would have their way against the Orlando guards and make it so tough on them to bring the ball up, which would make it hard for them to score. Whereas Cleveland, their strength is their backcourt with Donovan Mitchell and Garland.
Yep.
Those guys can light you up. They can average 54 a season combined. For a series. And then they have two guys who are dominant on the glass in Mobley and Allen.
Yeah.
They have size. They just don't have the depth. That's going to be the thing for them. So it's weird, but I'd rather watch them play Cleveland. And I don't want them flying 1,500 miles back and forth to Orlando in a long series against a young team that just doesn't get tired. So give me Cleveland and no Orlando in their low def broadcast. I can't take it, man.
I'd probably think Cleveland's the better team. Garland and Mitchell are legit. They went for 28 and 23 in the last game. They can shoot threes. Mitchell and Tatum, obviously, they got a great. It's like Tatum's going through all his best friends in order to get to the finals here. But you mentioned the depth of Cleveland. Like Marcus Morris is really their bench guy. Tristan Thompson still gets minutes. You believe that? And LeVert.
Yeah, it's wild.
And George Niang can play, but, for the most part, they're not deep. Mobley's okay. And Allen missed the last game. He's been dealing with some injuries. So if Porzingis doesn't play, though that's the matchups I would look at, like you pointed out. Allen can play very well there, and Mobley's been pretty good considering he had 13 rebounds and 14 points in the last game. Like, he contributes. He's just not yet the guy. You mentioned age. He's just not ready yet, but he plays 39 minutes a night.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just one more thing on Orlando. I think Banchero is slightly ascending, right? When you look, like we saw Ant now, he's starting to go the next level. Banchero's starting to go. I don't know if Cade Cunningham's going to be that next guy, but when you're looking for the next wave of stars, I think Banchero is one of those guys.
Yeah, he is. He's coming. I don't think they're there yet, but he's coming. I think there's still another player or two away. They need some kind of veteran help down there. But, I think the Celtics I think they could beat Orlando like in 5. Cleveland, I could see it being a 6-game series for sure. But I don't know. It's tough, man. I want them to beat Orlando because I think they can beat them pretty handily. But that whole traveling back and forth to Florida, we've seen that before when it comes to the Miami Heat series. I don't want to see Max Strus. I don't want to see LeVert, who gave him 50 a couple years ago when he was in Brooklyn. I don't want to see the veteran guys they have there, like you said, Morris and Tristan Thompson. Those guys kind of know how to make a play when it's needed to. They have there's still a veteran thing about the Cavs team, whereas Orlando just being really young, and they just going to play wild basketball and play to their athleticism or whatever it may be. And I think the Celtics can take full advantage of that. But aesthetically, I want to see Cleveland, but I think they'd have an easier way with Orlando.
And Orlando's not. They shot 29% from 3 in their last matchup. Cleveland's been about 35%. So that will help out at least Cleveland in that matchup. There's a little nugget that we want to share with you. Our buddy Joe Sway Pavone, tweeted out something a little while ago that might give some fans some hope. So we'll get into that, and we'll wrap this thing up. Cerrone Battles here. I'm Joe Murray. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
right, final segment here, 98.5, the Sports Hub. Want to thank everybody tonight for putting this together. James Scaramazino, we call him Scaz. Nice job tonight. Cerrone Battle's here. And everybody on YouTube, thank you. Real quick, I just saw this because we were talking about the announcers earlier. Awful Announcing, which is a website, if you have never seen that. They named their Awful Announcing NBA announcer rankings. So if you're bored, you can check that out. That should be fun. And then finally, Cerrone, we got an update by our buddy Josue Pavone of CLNS, and he took a photo of one Kristaps Porzingis walking at TD Garden without a walking boot, just walking in between cars. I don't know what you make out of that after Sham's report today.
Hey, I'm surprised he was there. If he's there, that's a good sign. I think if he was in that much of bad shape, they wouldn't have had him anywhere where anyone could see him. Yep. So I mean, the fact that he was there in the building and walking around, I think is a good sign.
Wearing comfy slippers, it looked like, and when you get a strain like that, you need to have good footwear, So maybe they dodged one. So all right, Cerrone. Well, I know you'll be on this weekend, but we may not talk until next week.
Yeah, well, we'll sit around and wait and see what's going on. Until then, let's keep an eye on the Bruins, and hopefully they can move on, and your phone lines won't be as crazy as they were last night.
They were wild last night. All right, Cerrone, thank you. Scaz, thank you. I'm Joe Murray. We'll be back tomorrow for a 7 o'clock show, heading up until the Bruins game here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.